my opinion, were extraordinarily productive and very rich exchange. So I would like to invite the rapporteur to come to the podium and to tell us what are the summary of each of those discussions. All three. Yeah. Yeah. So 4 rapporteurs with us. One, unfortunately, is missing. I understand she's doesn't feeling well today. But we will start with Darren. So if you can tell us which territory you have been covering.
Okay.
And you have a few minutes to
introduce myself. My name is Darren John. I'm actually a psychologist and social worker. I actually teach community welfare to mainly Indian students for the last 4 years from Sri Lanka as well. So I'm a regular lecturer. I also train and run workshops throughout Australia. I've been doing that for about 15 years. So I mainly do training in managing challenging behaviour, working with dual diagnosis, mental health issues, mainly working with GPs and professionals in the allied health services. So my professional part of what I do is workshops and facilitation. And the reason I actually got involved with the GDF was I asked Peter if he'd like to give him some help in actually putting some workshops together. And I put quite a lot of work into designing these workshops, hoping to really capture what people's aspirations were, getting them to work on group cohesion between the members of the groups, but also giving freedom as well for everybody to speak. And I think if you're going to have a movement forward, it's really important that you include everybody's opinions and you're able to facilitate that effectively so everybody feels that they have a part in the overall say. So the one that I did was Focus Group 5, which is India's intercultural relations with its neighbours in South Asia, building trust and cooperation. So we started off with a general overview, a discussion point, which is I'm going to read, otherwise none of it will make sense to you. One thing I would like to say is people who've got their mobiles on, can you please turn them off? Because it's really highly distracting when you're talking if you hear a mobile. I would appreciate it. All right, the culture. This is the discussion that we started with. The culture in India has been shaped by its long history, unique geography and diverse demography. India's languages, religions, dance music and architecture and customs differ from place to place, which indeed they do, within the country but possess a commonality. The culture of India is an amalgamation of these diverse subcultures spread all over the Indian subcontinent and traditions that are several millennia old. By 2030, India is projected to overtake China as the country with the world's largest population. Some have forecast India will be the world's largest economy by 2025. Building and maintaining trust and cooperation in the region is vital to the region's stability for present and future generations. Just to open the discussion today, I started off by asking my group, I had 2 people from Thailand, one from Bangladesh, one from Sri Lanka and one from India. And there were a good cross-section of age ranges as well, some younger people and some older people. So it was only a small group. So the first question was, what does trust and cooperation really mean to them? And I'm just going to give you the feedback that I got from the discussion as it was. I haven't added any of my slant in there or anything. It's just purely as it came across. So mutual understanding between each other, being honest was part of trust and building cooperation. Engaging with good interaction, whatever good interaction might mean. It's about giving and receiving and talking. It's about supporting each other and being sensitive to other needs and ideas. And trust is, I think it's very true, is built through reliability. So by gaining a bit of history and by being reliable on somebody else, that reliability then builds trust to the relationship. So how can this be built was the next question. How does trust and cooperation really mean, and how can it be built? By negotiation, this is between your neighbouring countries. By willing and sharing with one country to another. Strong positive history with previous involvement. So it can be built by history that you've had in with the country previously. And previous involvement. By way of exchange of ideas and culture and having willingness to offer. So a willingness to offer help. Exchange programs for young people, they thought that was very prominent in how it can be built, how trust and cooperation can be built, and having a youth conference in some way. And really, each country has a win-win situation. Now, that means that each party would take a benefit away. Whatever the negotiation was about, you keep something and they keep something, so you have something to hold on to, but you feel that you've both gained something. The important foundations to be built in trust and how they can be maintained is obviously really important. Because not only when you actually build trust, you actually need to maintain that as well. Otherwise, obviously, the relationship can fall apart. And it's very important if you've got an ongoing relationship. The feedback that I have to that, the structure needs to be strong. Strong communication between the parties is obviously important on an ongoing basis. Using debriefing. Do you know what I mean by debriefing? By meeting and decide and talking to somebody else and having a session where you can talk over what's going wrong and what isn't going well. Finding a solution to a problem but working together on that as well and not leaving it to one party. And continuous evaluation of the relationship that's been built. And respect for each other's culture, which I think is very, very important. How can trust, then we moved into how can trust lead to cooperation. If the trust is high, the risk is low, which I think is very important. Obviously, when you really trust somebody, you don't feel that you've got so much risk, do you? So, cultural similarities increase cooperation. So if you've got cultural norms that you share, it increases cooperation between the two countries. And increase the positive thinking about the benefits. So increase positive benefits to each country about what the positives are of the relationship, which is what the main thing that was said. I asked the question, which countries do they believe that they thought that India had trusting relations with? And they said Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Russia, Maldives, Singapore, Bhutan, Nepal, China and Burma. So they thought that you had good relations.
Influence of British culture, in recent times it is observed that the shift of influence has moved to the American shores. The electronic media is primarily responsible for influencing youth by their unrealistic projection of culture, lack of parental attention, growing trend of nuclear families, materialism, and a high dose of consumerism. This growing scope of technology are some of the causes of the loss of cultural identity within the younger age. The young age group. This loss of traditional root is noticed more in urban areas than rural areas. Culture is defined. This answer was given to a question that how would youth define themselves when asked to identify themselves, their identity mainly. And this is what emerged. Please excuse me because it's not in my writing. The loss of traditional roots is noticed because of more in urban and rural areas, and the multiple factors that result in this is in belief in values, attitude, and the lack of mother tongue being used. Superstitions, then idioms, mythology, folklore, and proverbs. The point here is that in these cases, when the language is different, in translation, the actual essence of all the cultural aspects and what is being conveyed is often lost or sometimes not translated at all. In order to preserve cultural identity, the following are recommended in this manner. Mother tongue plays a crucial role as carrying of the culture and should be taught at an early age. Mothers and teachers play a role in influencing the youth from a very young age. Due to the age of globalization, English language has become a binding factor among people of different communities. However, its implementation should be restricted to only this as a binding factor. Knowledge of English should not lead to a decay of the local language. Inter-community marriages, although restricted to a small substrata, could lead to the next generation acquiring the best of both cultures. It could also lead to more tolerance, open-mindedness to other communities. These marriages could be a solution to preserve different cultures. This, mind you, often, whilst discussing this particular subject, there was a confusion of three things. One is when we talk about inter-community, it is often understood to be interreligious. So it is crucial for all of us to remember that inter-community means interstate, and it's a cultural part of it. Then there is interreligious, and then there is intercaste. Now, the intercaste part of it comes within the inter-community of the states, if you are a Hindu. So in all of this context, this is to be seen, and the solution as I read out earlier. An urban youth would define himself and herself. This was a question asked, that how would the urban youth identify themselves? To that, this point came about, that there's three points, that's the criteria. First, the language, which is the mother tongue, place of residence, and the third is professional, or the professional studies, or in whichever profession the person is in, or the line of study. This is how youth today defines themselves. The notion of one Indian culture is a social and a political constraint. It is quite non-existent. Because, frankly speaking, India, there is no one culture. It's many cultures which has come together to be what is known as Indian culture. The last time, there's a point came in that how can you bind everyone under one motivation? The last time this was seen was at the time of the freedom movement, when, because of the common cause of freedom, that every single state came together to fight for a common cause. That is not relevant any longer, but perhaps the freedom from certain other things could be a motivating factor that has to be explored. There was also a suggestion made that whilst talking about various languages, our ancient language of Sanskrit be introduced in the mainstream curriculum. Sanskrit, though, is a subject, but it is slowly getting to be a bit of a forgotten language. It might...
Thank you, Indrani. Obviously, it was a very rich discussion as well. And I would like now to turn to Ridula, who will come up with a summary of the third workshop. And I would like to express a double thanks to who couldn't be here today. So that's my first thank. And the second one is because she actually deserves a diploma of, I would say, of honor for the essay competition. Ridula wrote a wonderful piece, but since her father is the chairman of the forum and also the chairman of the jury for the essay, she could not actually qualify, but she wrote a wonderful piece, and I wanted to congratulate her. Thank you, Ridula.
Thank you. Well, hello and good evening, everyone. My name is Mridula Sarachandra Bose, and I'm actually very honored to be sharing the panel with such esteemed delegates. Well, yesterday evening, we had a discussion about religion, how religion can bring us together and develop peace and unity in our country. Our discussion was headed by Reverend Dr. Jose Nandikara, and I'm going to be presenting it today. Religion is a very sensitive topic. What I'm going to say today are the results of our yesterday's discussion. Why is there always a religious conflict? Why is it so hard for people of different religions to get along? This is because people are not ready to accept other religions as they think that their own religion is of the highest priority, or simply put, they just believe that their own religion is the best. We are people of the world. We must allow others to understand our own religion, and we must also make a conscious effort to learn and understand other religions as well. This world is not only mine, but yours too. I do not live in this world alone. I share this world with billions of people from various different religions. So instead of drifting apart from one another by pinpointing our differences, why not share our similarities and come together? I know it's easier said than done, but because each individual is so different, each individual has their own different views, and each one of us believe that our own views are the best. If we all just humble ourselves and accept the fact that no religion is better than the other, this world would actually be a much happier place to live in. All religions of the world are as important as our own. Non-understanding of the right concept of a religion can be a cause of confusion. Ignorance of the worth of other religions is a major factor towards religious conflicts. According to David Barrett, there are 19 major religions in the world, which are subdivided into 270 large religious groups. This is a very big number. In order for all of us to come together, we must strive for parity while accepting disparity. Religions play a major role in shaping a person. Our behavior and ethics that we follow stream from religions. Religion is a cultural system that creates a powerful and long-lasting meaning by establishing symbols that relate.
Thanks a lot, Nicola. And now we will have the last. Sorry? Somebody else?
Postgrad in pedagogy, that's teaching methods and philosophy. Started my career with a 3-year stint teaching in the Don Bosco Institution. Went through a whole host of changes of career from advertising, client servicing, creativity, marketing, pharmaceutical marketing, and came all the way back to training in corporates now. Well, here we are. You have this already, and what we did. This was our subject, Education for Intercultural Citizenship. What will be the cultural and societal impact and how to capitalize on the youth wave? As has been said by the earlier speakers, we talk of inculturation and one language that cuts across the lines and one language to which the youth are all tuned in is without doubt must be a way to reach across these rivers. There must be a way to cross all the rivers together. Together we can build a bridge to reach out to one another. Together we can build a bridge of love. Reaching for us so far apart. was saying, there must be a way to reach out across these rivers. There must be a way to cross all these rivers together. Hey youth, don't let me down. Together we can build a bridge to reach out to one another. Together we can build a bridge of love. Once again. There must be a way to reach across the river. There must be a way to cross all these rivers together. Together we can build a bridge to reach out to one another. Together we can build a bridge of love. And in case you missed it, the foundations have been strengthened in the past 3 days. Would you not agree? For this bridge, of course. So here we are, focus group 3, which is about the intercultural citizenship and about the youth, reaching out to the youth. The main outcomes that we were looking at were to discuss the implications of the current education and skills shortage in India, generate ideas to improve the current system, communicate in a group session ideas to improve the participation rate for young Indians in the future of the global workforce, and to discuss opportunities in cross-cultural awareness, education, and training. This is what we were working on, and we had to deliberate, does India need to increase its workforce? What are the practical ways that India can adopt in the future to meet the need? What do you believe are the systemic and structural problems in the education and training system currently used? What additional educational opportunities need to be established to meet the need? How can India increase the number of young people? Oh, great. Revadi and Sivakar are friends from Thailand. These were the two youth in the group. And they very kindly said that I could call one of them Bo and the other one Pai. Very considerate of them. And of course, Joe Rodericks. This is what we deliberated. Does India need to increase its workforce quality and employability? What answer do you think we had to that? Yes. Of course.
A resounding
yes. A resounding yes. What practical ways can India adopt in the future to meet this need? So we took that up and we came up with 39 suggestions. So we have a data bank. What do you believe are the systemic and structural problems in the education and training system currently? Here we did a think. Should we follow the Freudian method of first finding out what made a person screwed up and then find the solution? Or should we go with Skinner and say, okay, let's find out what works, and that automatically will cancel out what's wrong? So we gave this a miss. We bypassed this and said, we decided to look for solutions directly instead of listing the problems or analyzing the problems. Nobody has objected? No. Okay. What additional...
We can and we will.
Must.
She must.
The alternatives are too disastrous to think of. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
I'd like to invite Rituparna to reflect on some of the discussion from yesterday's final session. Unfortunately, we don't have the notes here, but Rituparna will do what she can to share, and I'll help wherever I can also.
Thank you, Mr. Pise. I was in focus group 2, and the subject of discussion was shaping perception, challenging stereotypes. What is the role of the media today? So first we dealt with shaping perceptions. What perceptions do we have of cultural diversity, and what are the key factors that shape these perceptions. And it was pointed out that how television and media has a very key role in changing perceptions and giving them shape. It was said that the use of computers and electronic gadgets are spoiling the youth today in some ways, because it creates a stereotype, like advertising cigarettes and alcohol, and these all lead to behavior, unacceptable behavior in youth today. And it was also said that it's a choice that the youth make, and not fully related to what influence media would have. There were a lot of people from Kerala, because it was the host state. So a lot of things were said about the Kashmir issue, and how media is acting there. Then we discussed about how when media produces a story, it twists around and presents something, and that has a greater impact on people, especially the general public who couldn't rely on social media or social networking sites or anything. And we came up with solutions or action plans later on during the conversation, during the discussion. And it was said that the role of social media is very important in today's generation, because they are the ones who produce the true story, because it's unbiased, without any political influence or anything. So we came up with ideas such as blogging, creating websites, and also chain texting, because sometimes language is a great barrier, especially in a country as diverse as India. So if we chain text and translate it in the language that is convenient for the other person to understand, then that's a help. And blogging, a lot of stress was put onto blogging, because that reaches the public very soon. And
Thanks, Rituparna. I think you did very, very well, considering you didn't have any of the notes.
thank you so much.
Just one thing I'd like to add to that was there was a discussion about the China and Japan relations in the media, how the media hyped the China and Japan relations, and it was there were sectors of society, and some of the foundations were very interested in hearing the perspectives of the people and the citizens at the ground level. So the example was given where the Japan Foundation and Mr. Ogawa, Tadashi Ogawa, he shared the experience where there was a blogging with what people thought about the relations, or what they thought about, each other. And the response received was claimed to have really balanced the hype and the problems that the media was creating. So it was a very, very, it was an outstanding example, and from that really drove the action plan to set up a platform where we can invite people of different cultures and of different locations, countries, to share their thoughts and views about people or countries, rather than just hearing what the general media has to say. So it turned out to have quite a strong focus and strong interest in establishing this, so hopefully we can move something forward.